Okay, let's talk about the public school system when it. No, let's not talk about the public school system yet. Let's talk about how a person learns their first language. There's a lot of different theories and a lot of different analyzation of language and babies and how they acquire language and when they acquire language and how the brain works and I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of presentations and a lot of studying about this. But let's really break this down for the everyday person to really kind of get an understanding of how a language is learned. People will tell you that everybody learns the same or learns differently. Everybody has different ways of learning. Some people are hands-on. Some people have to read. Some have to study and analyze it. Some have to do it. Um, there are different ways to learn everything out there except to speak a language. And that's pretty strong to say when there's so many different systems to learn languages. Um, and there's some good systems, and then there's some not so good systems. There's, but the one thing that it isn't really a matter what system it is, people have to understand, students have to realize, teachers have to realize that learning grammar and analyzing grammar will never help a student speak a language. And how can I say that? Um, well, if you think about it, you don't think about grammar when you speak, and so we teachers and teachers insist on students speaking. Speak naturally. Try to speak. And the problem is the students haven't heard the language. Now, let's I got a little sidetracked. Let's go back here and let's analyze how. Now, everybody learns differently everything except language. Language is the one thing that every human being has learned the exact same way. Every person in the world has learned their native language the same exact way. And how was that? Let's break this down into real simple terms, okay? Was your first language learned? You learned your first language the same way I learned my first language. And for the first 12 months of our life, we did nothing but listen, right? We listened to our mother and our father, and our aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and cousins, and everybody was talking to us. And when we hit about 4 or 5 months, we start to respond, look at daddy, look at mommy. And when we hit about 10, 12 months, maybe as late as 15 or 18 months, our first word comes out. Mother, mama, dada. Um, that first word comes out at different times for different people because it doesn't come out until the brain is ready. When the brain is ready, the words come out. And so, so maybe we've said our first word at about 10 or 12 months old. And then, as we get a little older, our parents start to read to us. Mom will sit down next to you with a book and she'll read your favorite story. And then she'll point to pictures and she'll go, "What is this?" And you'll say, "Ball." "What is this?" "Teddy bear." And we have this question and answer. "What color is this?" "Green." And we have this question and answer dialogue happening. And so this happens in the first few years of our lives when our parents are reading to us when we're small. They read for many years in some cases. Um, and then when we get to school at about primary school, maybe 5 years old, 6 years old, we're given a big fat pencil in America, right? And they teach us to write the alphabet: A, B, C, D, small d, and we're taught how to write the alphabet. And the very first word that we're taught to write is our name. So we can put it at the top of all of our papers, right? So let's back up. Now, our first 12 months of our life, we listened to the language. Then we spent 4 or 5 years with our parents listening to them read and ask us questions with an interactive dialogue. And then when we go in, and then our dialogue continues throughout our life, and then we go into the school system and we're given a big pencil and we're taught the alphabet. We're taught to write. So listen, read, write. And then when we get into maybe junior high school, maybe a fourth or fifth class of primary school, we're taught or introduced to grammar. And if you think back now, we've actually spoken our first language for 8 or 10 years before we even know what grammar is. And so now if we look at the second language learning system, going into the classroom, the teachers are given materials to use. They have specific lists. In many foreign countries, it's very specific what you can use in the classroom, looking for very specific results, looking for exams, passing grammar exams. But the one thing missing in the classroom is the listening element. Students need to listen intensively to the language before they learn the grammar. See, grammar is analyzing the language. We analyze the verbs and the nouns and the past participles and all the different adjectives and adverbs, and we get so caught up in all of the words, describing words, to translate to a language that the student never really gets to be able to use the language back and forth in an interactive fashion. And so in the classroom, teachers, you really need to incorporate an intensive amount of listening into their lesson plan. And so that's my take on how languages originally learned, our first languages learned, and that's what I believe is missing in the public classroom. And so that's it for this video, and watch some of the others. There's going to be more down below or up above explaining some more elements of language learning in my philosophy and take on it. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.